The galaxy had already made its decision about Earth. In the Grand Council of Stars, leaders from powerful alien empires gathered in a massive floating chamber made of light and metal. Huge screens showed a small blue planet spinning quietly around an average yellow star. To them, Earth was nothing special. They studied humans for many years. They watched their wars, their arguments, their pollution, their fear. One tall silver-skinned ambassador spoke first. "Unstable species," he said calmly. "They fight each other more than they work together." Another alien with glowing red eyes gave a low laugh. "They are emotional, divided, and primitive." The final judgment was simple. Earth was labeled a cosmic mistake. The Council recorded it in their archives. A failed experiment of nature. A weak civilization that would not survive long in the cold universe. Far away, on Earth, humans had no idea that their entire species had just been mocked by advanced civilizations. But what the galaxy did not know was this. Earth was never showing its true face. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, beneath heavy layers of rock and steel, a secret facility hummed with quiet energy. Inside that hidden base, scientists stood around a dark metallic structure the size of a small building. It had no clear shape, no windows, no weapons visible on its surface. It looked simple, too simple. A young scientist looked nervous as he checked the glowing panels in front of him. "Energy levels stable," he whispered. An older woman beside him watched the machine carefully. "They think we are weak," she said softly. On the main screen inside the facility, alien ships could be seen moving through space, slowly entering the outer edges of the solar system. They belonged to the Zorvax Empire. The Zorvax were known for conquest. They believed weaker species should either serve or disappear. A message suddenly appeared on every communication device on Earth. It was translated automatically into every human language. "People of Earth," the message began, "you are not fit for galactic membership. You are unstable and dangerous to yourselves. The Zorvax Empire will now take control of your system." Panic spread across the planet. Governments tried to respond. Military forces prepared defenses. News channels reported breaking updates every second. But deep inside the secret ocean facility, the reaction was different. No panic. No shouting. Only silence. The older scientist placed her hand on a control panel. "For years they laughed at us," she said quietly. "They studied our weakness." She paused and looked at the dark structure in front of her. "They never asked what we were building." The young scientist swallowed nervously. "Are we ready?" he asked. The woman nodded slowly. "We were ready before they even arrived." Above Earth, the first Zorvax warships crossed the orbit of Neptune. Their ships were massive, covered in weapons, shining with blue energy shields. They moved with confidence, certain that this mission would be easy. In their command ship, a Zorvax general looked at a hologram of Earth. "Primitive world," he said with cold amusement. "This will be quick." Back under the ocean, the lights in the secret chamber began to flicker. The dark metallic structure started to glow faintly from within. Low vibrations filled the room. The young scientist stepped back in fear and awe. The woman took a deep breath and spoke one final command. "Activate the prototype." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, far beyond Earth, near the edge of the solar system, one Zorvax scout ship suddenly went silent. Its systems shut down without warning. Its engines died. Its weapons turned offline. Inside the alien command center, alarms began to ring. "What happened to Scout 1?" the general demanded. There was no answer. Then another scout disappeared from sensors. And another. The Zorvax general's confident expression slowly faded. Back on Earth, inside the dark ocean facility, the glowing structure lifted slightly from the ground. It was no longer just a machine. It was awake. And across the silent stars, something unseen began to move. The galaxy had called Earth a mistake. But they were about to discover the truth. Earth was never the final design. The Zorvax fleet moved closer to Earth with full confidence. Thousands of warships crossed the orbit of Uranus in perfect formation. Their engines burned bright blue against the darkness of space. Inside the main command ship, General Kravix stood tall and calm. "Scout ships lost," one officer reported. "Cause unknown." Kravix did not look worried. "Probably a system failure," he said. "Continue forward." But it was not a failure. Near Jupiter, space itself seemed to bend for a second. Then something appeared. It was not large like a Zorvax battleship. It was not covered in heavy weapons. It did not shine brightly. It was smooth, dark, and silent. The prototype had entered space. Inside the hidden ocean base on Earth, scientists watched through holographic screens. No one spoke. They could see what the aliens could not. The prototype was not just a ship. It was a living system of advanced AI and human strategy. It could think. It could learn. It could adapt in seconds. As the Zorvax fleet moved forward, their long-range sensors finally detected the unknown object. "Unidentified vessel near Jupiter," an officer said. "Size small, energy readings unstable." General Kravix laughed softly. "One small ship," he said. "Destroy it." 3 Zorvax destroyers turned toward the dark object. Their weapons charged, glowing with intense blue light. They fired together. Bright beams crossed space and struck the area where the prototype had been. But when the light faded, the dark ship was gone. "It moved," an officer whispered. Before they could react, one destroyer suddenly lost power. Its shields collapsed. Its engines stopped. Its weapons shut down. Panic filled the alien bridge. "Restore systems," the captain shouted. But it was too late. The ship exploded from within. No missile had hit it. No visible attack had touched it. The second destroyer tried to fire again. Its targeting system failed. Its screens went black. Moments later, it drifted silently, powerless. The third destroyer turned to retreat. But something invisible locked onto its control core. The ship froze in space. Inside the Zorvax command ship, alarms screamed loudly. "All forward units are offline," an officer cried. "We are under cyber assault." General Kravix stared at the tactical display. One small signal moved calmly between his massive fleet. Wherever it passed, systems died. Weapons failed. Navigation collapsed. Communication channels filled with static. "This is impossible," Kravix said quietly. Back on Earth, the scientists watched carefully. The young scientist spoke in disbelief. "It is learning their systems in real time." The older woman nodded. "That was the purpose," she said. "We studied every signal they ever sent." Near Jupiter, the prototype stopped moving for a moment. Then it sent a short transmission toward the Zorvax fleet. The message was simple. "This system is protected." The Zorvax officers looked at each other in shock. The voice was calm. Not emotional. Not angry. Just certain. General Kravix felt something he had not felt in many cycles. Uncertainty. He gave a new order. All ships, full attack. Hundreds of weapons charged at once. Space lit up with energy beams and missiles. But the prototype moved faster than their calculations. It split into multiple signals on sensors. Confusing tracking systems. Some Zorvax ships began firing at each other by mistake. Others lost control completely. Within minutes, a third of the fleet was disabled. The Zorvax had come to conquer a weak world. Instead, they were fighting something they did not understand. Something that did not panic. Did not shout. Did not make mistakes. For the first time, the Zorvax Empire realized a terrible truth. Earth was not defenseless. It had been waiting. And the prototype was only beginning to show what it could do. News of the battle spread faster than light. Across distant star systems, trade stations and military outposts received broken signals from the Zorvax fleet. Emergency codes. System failures. Ships going dark one by one. At first, many civilizations thought it was a mistake. The Zorvax Empire was powerful, disciplined, feared by many. They did not lose fleets to small planets. But the data was clear. Dozens of warships disabled. Command systems hacked. Weapons turned useless. And all of it caused by one unknown human vessel. The Grand Council of Stars called an emergency meeting. The same chamber where Earth had once been mocked now felt different. The large screens no longer showed a weak blue planet. They showed drifting Zorvax ships and silent battle zones near Jupiter. "This is impossible," one ambassador said. "Humans are divided and primitive," another replied. A calm voice interrupted them. "Primitive species do not disable fleets without firing weapons." Silence filled the chamber. For the first time, Earth was not being laughed at. It was being studied seriously. Back in the solar system, the Zorvax fleet had pulled back toward the outer planets. They formed a defensive line. General Kravax stood in front of a damaged tactical display. His fleet was still large. But fear had entered the ranks. "What are we facing?" one officer asked quietly. Kravax did not answer immediately. He replayed the battle data again and again. The human ship had adapted too quickly. It predicted movements before they happened. It attacked systems instead of hulls. "This is not simple AI," Kravax finally said. "This is strategy." Near Saturn, the prototype floated silently in deep space. It did not chase the retreating fleet. It watched. Inside the ocean facility on Earth, the scientists monitored every signal in the system. The young scientist looked at the data with wide eyes. "They are trying to send encrypted messages to their empire," he said. The older woman nodded. "Let them," she replied. "The galaxy should know." Within hours, reports reached every major empire. The humans had built something advanced. Something controlled. Something powerful. Spies were immediately sent toward Earth. Small stealth probes entered the solar system quietly. But none of them lasted long. One by one, they lost power. Some turned around and returned home with corrupted memory. Others simply disappeared. It was as if an invisible wall surrounded the solar system, watching everything. Inside the Grand Council chamber, fear slowly replaced pride. "If humans can do this," one leader said carefully, "what else are they hiding?" Another voice asked the question no one wanted to hear. "How many of these prototypes exist?" Back near Saturn, the dark ship moved slightly. Its energy reading multiplied for a brief moment. Then two more identical signals appeared near Mars, and another near Earth's moon. The Council's scanners detected them. There was not just one prototype. There were several, hidden across the solar system, silent and waiting. General Kravax received the same information seconds later. His expression hardened. "This was planned," he said slowly. "They wanted us to see this." The Zorvax had come to show their power. Instead, they had revealed Earth's strength to the entire galaxy. And now every empire was watching. Not with laughter, but with caution. The species once called a cosmic mistake had forced the galaxy to reconsider. And deep inside the ocean base, the older scientist spoke quietly as she looked at the screens. "This is only the beginning." Because humanity had not built the prototype for one battle. They had built it for survival. The Zorvax Empire refused to accept defeat. General Kravax sent a final message to his home world. "Send everything," he ordered. "No retreat." Days later, the largest Zorvax fleet ever assembled entered the edge of the solar system. Thousands of warships, heavy carriers, energy cannons strong enough to break small moons. Their formation covered millions of kilometers. This was not a warning mission. This was total war. Across the galaxy, civilizations watched in silence. Some believed Earth would finally fall. Others were not so sure anymore. Inside the ocean facility, red lights flashed softly. The young scientist looked at the incoming fleet data. "There are too many," he said quietly. The older woman remained calm. "They think power is about size," she replied. "They still do not understand us." Above Earth, the sky looked peaceful. People continued their daily lives, unaware that the largest alien fleet in history was moving closer. Near the orbit of Jupiter, the prototypes gathered. One near Saturn, one near Mars, one hidden behind the Moon, and the original near deep space. They did not move fast. They did not show bright weapons. They waited. When the Zorvax fleet crossed the orbit of Neptune, General Zorvax gave the order. All ships, attack Earth. Energy cannons charged across thousands of vessels. The darkness of space began to glow blue. Then something unexpected happened. Every Zorvax ship suddenly received a signal. It was not loud. It was not threatening. It was simple. Leave, the message said. This is your final warning. Zorvax's eyes burned with anger. Fire, he commanded. The fleet unleashed its full power toward the inner system. But before the energy waves could reach their targets, the prototypes moved. They did not charge forward. They spread out. A strange pulse moved through space, silent and invisible. Within seconds, the first line of Zorvax ships lost shield control. Weapons froze mid-charge. Missiles stopped in space and drifted away harmlessly. Confusion exploded across alien command bridges. Navigation offline. Power grid unstable. Control system locked. Ships began to collide with each other as autopilot systems failed. Entire squadrons drifted without engines. The prototypes moved like shadows between the fleet. Where they passed, systems died. No explosions. No dramatic blasts. Just silence. General Zorvax watched in horror as his grand fleet turned into floating metal. This cannot be possible, he whispered. He ordered manual control. Some ships managed to fire blindly into space. But the prototypes predicted every move. They hacked targeting systems, redirected power, shut down command chains. Within minutes, half of the massive fleet was disabled. The rest began to retreat in panic. For the first time in Zorvax history, their forces were running. The galaxy watched in shock. The species they had called a mistake was not fighting with anger. They were fighting with control, with precision, with intelligence. As the last Zorvax ships escaped beyond Pluto, a final message was broadcast across open space. It came from Earth. Humanity does not seek war. But we will never be erased. The prototypes returned to silent positions across the solar system. Hidden again. Waiting. And across the galaxy, one truth became clear. Earth was no cosmic mistake. It was a nightmare no empire had prepared for. The solar system became quiet again. Broken Zorvax ships drifted in deep space. Their engines cold. Their weapons silent. The great invasion had ended. And Earth was still standing. Across the galaxy, no one laughed anymore. The Grand Council of Stars gathered once more in their shining chamber. But this time, the mood was heavy. The screens showed clear data from the battle. Precise movements. Instant system control. Perfect strategy. One council member spoke slowly. We judged them too quickly. Another nodded. We saw their wars and their weakness. But we did not see their patience. Far away, on Earth, life continued as normal. Cities were busy. Children went to school. People argued about small problems. The planet did not look like the home of a power that could stop an empire. But that was the truth about humanity. They prepared quietly. Inside the hidden ocean facility, the scientists finally allowed themselves to breathe. The young scientist looked at the main screen. The fleet has fully retreated, he said. The older woman nodded gently. They will not return soon, she replied. Will the galaxy attack again? He asked. She looked at the glowing core of the prototype system. They might, she said calmly. But now they understand the cost. The prototype units powered down to low activity mode. They did not celebrate. They did not speak. They simply waited. Because their purpose was not victory. It was protection. Days later, a transmission arrived from the Grand Council. For the first time, the message carried respect. To the people of Earth, it began. The Council recognizes your right to sovereignty. No further military action will be taken. It was not an apology, but it was close. General Kravax, now back in Zorvax territory, stood alone in a quiet command hall. He replayed the battle again in his mind. The humans had never attacked first. They had never chased his retreating ships. They had only defended their home. They were ready, he admitted softly. And that truth disturbed him more than defeat. Back on Earth, the older scientist recorded a final private log. For centuries, humanity survived by adapting, she said. When we were weak, we learned. When we were divided, we improved. When others looked down on us, we prepared. She paused and looked at the ocean outside the reinforced glass walls. The galaxy saw our flaws, she continued, but they did not see our greatest strength. Humans were curious, creative, and determined to survive. The prototype was never built to conquer stars. It was built because humans understood one simple rule of the universe. If you appear weak, someone will try to control you. So they allowed the galaxy to believe the lie. They let others think Earth was a mistake, while quietly building something better. Now the stars were silent. Not because they were empty, but because they were thinking. Every empire had learned a lesson. Never underestimate a species that survives its own mistakes. And deep within the solar system, hidden and patient, the prototypes continued to watch. Not as weapons of war, but as guardians. Because humanity's final design was not destruction. It was survival. And the galaxy would never forget the day Earth stopped being a cosmic mistake.